The masses have waited 6 long years for this moment. However, for us, the wait's been 10 plus years. 2XKO, formerly known as Project L, has been a long time coming. Sure, to the masses, this may look like yet another attempt at a free-to-play fighting game. A well-done and exciting attempt seeing how Riot Games and the League of Legends IP is backing it, but overall, a bit generic when looked at in a vacuum. Of course, the free-to-play MOBA with over 100 marketable characters will eventually get a fighting game. Just like Pokken Tournament, it makes sense. The twist comes from the people involved with 2XKO and the journey the fighting game community had towards the brackets we're running today. Curious about how all this goes down? Great! Join me, your boy Joseph, as I document 2XKO and the dawn of a new era in the FGC. Our story starts in 2006. Funnily enough, where all things in the FGC point back towards Street Fighter 2. The game's biggest draw was its online play thanks to Xbox Live, although you're probably aware of this game's less than stellar delay-based netcode, which caused Tony Cannon to take the initiative and set out to make GGPO. Good Game Peace Out was a licensable rollback netcode solution to fighting games both new and old. Early on, it was mainly reserved for various Xbox Live Arcade and PSN fighting game collections, things like Marvel vs. Capcom 2's HD re-release, Marvel vs. Capcom Origins, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike Online Edition, etc. Heck, even some indie games got on the fun like FGC Darling Skullgirls. GGPO was revolutionary for the fighting game genre, as it brought the online experience closer to parity with the arcade feeling of fighting your opponent side by side, or across the cap for my Eastern watchers. Sadly, most mainstream devs didn't adopt the technology and for decades stuck to delay-based netcode, which destroyed the online experience. Naturally, Tony and Tom Cannon once again took matters in their own hands. If developers won't implement rollback netcode to these modern fighting games, then the Cannon brothers will make a fighting game using the netcode that brought the community closer together. Rising Thunder was a community-led passion project. The dev team was made up of almost exclusively FGC vets. The design philosophy of the game revolved around accessing the fun at all levels. And yeah, that concept should sound familiar if you know anything about 2XKO and how the gameplay was being pitched around. When the alpha for Rising Thunder released, it was met with an overall warm reception, and it wasn't long before a certain esport-focused company saw what Radiant was up to and scooped them up, shelving Rising Thunder in the process. If you are curious about the design origins of 2XKO, then Rising Thunder Community Edition is a great place to start. You can check it out on G Drive downloads via a semi-active Discord, if you can find a couple of matches. In the meantime, Radiant turned into Rioters and started work on Project L, and from there, the rest is history. While all of this was exciting, the part that took me by surprise was how the 2XKO team was being built out. Around EVO 2023, we learned a ton about the dev team that was bringing this game to life. Unconquerable, a Tekken Tag 1 EVO finalist, Clockwork, who, by the way, just placed top 8 in 2025's EVO MVC2 bracket, and who was no stranger to fighting game design as he helped out in developing previous tag darling Battle for the Grid. We had the Exard Rev 2 GOAT Pat the Flip on the project. The list is long and varied with talent from all across the FGC, as both competitive players and casual observers had a helping hand in creating this title, which I truthfully don't think gets talked about enough. 2XKO started development when fighting games were arguably at the genre's second lowest point in the 2000s. The fact that Riot, one of the biggest game companies in the world, took a chance on essentially a indie dev team as they set out to make a tag fighter, arguably the most volatile and difficult to balance subgenre within the FGC, and they were allowed to bring along members of their community to fine-tune and develop this title, is nothing short of insane. This is the type of game that only companies like Valve could get away with. It's the equivalent of a fan mod that eventually gets turned into a full-fledged project with backing from the official company. That prospect alone is why I and many others in the scene became ecstatic at the thought of this title's release, which now that we mention it, that's where my story begins. I flew out to EVO 2023 the second I heard Project L was playable. I proceeded to spend basically my entire time there in line, over and over and over again. I instantly fell in love. This game's mechanics felt wild and bold. I mean, a tag fighter with a universal parry mechanic, the various fuses wildly switching up how we played. Yasuo was just revealed and he was this crazy fusion of various FG swordmen, all rolled into one unique package. Then there was Echo. Echo was made specifically for me, a rushdown archetype that can rewind time in the middle of combat. You can roll through opponents and projectiles and rewind right back in front of them. You have an install that lets you rewind as long as your shadow is out on screen. And lastly, he's just so cool. I mean, just look at his fit. The animations he has as he reels back that time travel device on his back, down of his bat smashing against the opponents. I instantly fell in love with all things Echo. Despite my lack of care towards the general League IP, at least I finally found a couple of characters that were for me. The demo sessions also had this strange way of playing. That of course was Project L's premier mode, Duos Play, where all 4 players got together to form 2-on-2 teams as we went head to head. Duo Play was and still is great fun. Working alongside a teammate as you coordinate assist calls and combo extensions is just so sick, and it adds a lot of communication during a match, something that was kind of missing from the realm of FGs compared to other multiplayer titles. The other great aspect of duos was the carry element. Newer players are still able to have fun and contribute towards a match even if they weren't the best in an isolated environment, as assist calls still come out even when KO. My brief time with Project L left me very impressed, and the drive to be active in my local FGC increased. So far, I'd say things have worked out pretty well. The only personal downside was the current state of modern games never fully spoke to me, which is fine, by the way. I just spent my time playing the titles that I personally enjoyed, so that meant a lot of Exard Rev 2, Dragon Ball FighterZ, and BlazBlue Cross Tag. During this, let's say, cooldown period, I began actively workshopping what I could do to support the incoming wave of new 2xKO players, and that's when it dawned upon me. I realized I want to document 2xKO and this new tag era we're entering as a whole. I want to give the audience a glimpse of what it's like to go to these tournaments at a ground level, and hopefully in doing so, I encourage you to either head out to your locals or try creating a local for yourself. So I decided to put my plan to action on September 13th, 2025. I'm going to dedicate my whole month, despite all my obligations, to competing 2xKO. Iron Grid 37, New Jersey's largest local, was hosting a 2xKO launch tournament. I packed up my bags and started my 1.5-hour drive up to North Jersey. While I stopped at a gas station, my phone went off. What could go wrong? This right here is what it's all about. The local atmosphere was electric. Buttons were being pounded away. Joyous cheers were echoing off the walls. This feeling simply can't be beat. I had a bit of time to kill before Dia pulled up, so I spent my time grinding Echo combos on an empty setup. My goal was simple: land the Echo combo. I saw this tech in a casual match and I instantly got to labbing it out. Just one teensy tiny problem, kind of suck. I kept dropping the timing of it towards the end of the combo, which led to a lot of failed interactions. And when you're teaming with literally Diaphone, who just won one of the most massive 2xKO online brackets, I mean, you just can't really afford mistakes like that. So there I am, practicing, trying to land it, and it just doesn't work out. Dude, I'm cooked. Those were the only words reverberating in my head. Match 1 begins, and... Yeah, not gonna lie, it's looking a little dire. Not to open up too much, but I kind of have like insane tournament nerves. I can run a first to death and play ranked all day long, no problem. But say I get put in this like double elimination bracket and all of a sudden I forget what the heavy attack button does. I think duos really exaggerated this feeling in my gut, because not only am I letting myself down, I'm also kind of negatively impacting my teammate. Thankfully, we scrape by and take round 1 in an extraordinarily close set. I feel disappointed eyes piercing the back of my head. I turn back and I'm waiting for the worst. But instead, we fist bump. We celebrate playing. Dia even gives me some great advice to clean up my play. Suddenly, my nerves and pressure retreat from my body. But in its stead, this new feeling washes over me as round 2 is called. My heart is racing, yet my body is firm. My mind sharp. This feeling that encompasses my body is none other than adrenaline. The very combo I couldn't land in training or casual sets suddenly flows out of me mid-match. We erupt, as if my body sent out this wave of euphoria telepathically to everyone who's in my vicinity. And the icing on the cake is we take this set 2-0. This right here, the little things done in person, is what it's all about. This is why I love locals. It's why I started this video in the first place, to share these moments with you all in the hopes that you guys do the same. The rest of the tournament was a standard affair. Di and I run through the rest of winners with no problem. My good friend Pilch and his partner Zippy went on a gauntlet run through losers after being sent there in winners round 1. We basically had the last seed versus the first seed in grand finals. It was a showdown for the ages. Is what I would have said if it wasn't for the elephant in the room. PC tournaments. PCs gave us poor competitors a lot of problems, and since Dia had to bounce soon and I had a hour-plus drive back and had some work to get on, we decided on using the constant mechanic in every FG to determine who gets the W. None other than the good old 50-50 coin flip. Pilch flipped the first coin.
Heads. Tails.
And it led us straight to a bracket reset. Then, it was my turn to flip the coin.
I'm blaming you if we lose. Okay, yeah. Flip it right. Heads. Heads.
Ah, tails.
We ended up clutching it 3-0 in the reset. But most importantly, I flipped the coin, which means I carried Diaphone to the win. Not too bad for my first in-person tournament, am I right? And with that, the closed beta wrapped up and the dawn of early access started. While many of the East Coast's best was in Nice, France, I and many others went down to Philly for the Go for Broke X Iron Grid charity tournament. This bracket was going to be a lot more difficult than anything I faced before. EVO top 8 finalist for Grand Blue, Artorius, was in attendance, alongside some local UMVC 3 players like Boog. 28 players were prepped and ready, and since I was learning a new team, I went in here with one simple goal: play clean. I definitely expected to go 0-2 in this bracket, as my ranked games were looking pretty shaky and my editing workload was piling up, so practice was not really in the question. My first round against Boog, a Vi Jinx player, proved as much. I got mopped up pretty fast. So fast that I felt a bit crushed as I dragged myself over to losers round 2. When the match started, however, I was locked in something furious. I used Warwick's down S1 move to flip, tag assist, and let Echo kinda do the rest. This carried me through my losers run, as at the time it was really hard for people to deal with. Shoutouts to Winsage and Ro, who are the two that had answers for this cheese, as Blitzcrank's grab would yoink Warwick out of midair and Brahm's shield would shut down any attempts at a cross-up. So I had to level up my play and get it pretty tricky there. Alas, I prevailed, and for the first time, I was on stream for 2x KO. Oh wait, I made top 8.
Does come back with the OTG to strip him to the other side of the corner. Pistol level 1.
Yeah, so
Nothing else from there.
yeah, almost has the blood.
The hooligan.
Oh my god.
Honestly. Ooh, gets hit with a time wimer. The wibbly wobbly timey wimey things. Oh my goodness. Does he get the conversion off?
But you can't just walk high.
Oh my god. She tried to contest.
Now.
Doesn't get much of it.
That was a lot. He still has resources.
Ooh, has a lot of time winds. And grab. This might be it.
That's not it. But he doesn't get a check chase and he wins the throw!
She should have taken that blade. She allowed this. She allowed the Warwick to breathe. This is match point.
Fury.
He's looking for the Fury. He's got
pop
and Fury. He pops it. It can be anybody's game at the moment. One touch for one of them.
He gets the 90!
Loses to Joseph. What a match. 2-1. Such a close game.
Just looking back, some of those sets were way too close, but I had the power of Warwick flowing through me. I quite literally was becoming one with the beast. That was until I met my doppelganger Hama in loser semis, who ran the exact same team as me, and Hama was just so much more efficient with it. I played as best as I could and didn't feel bad about the loss at all. It was a fun, albeit close set, and I learned a lot about my bad fighting game habits. I didn't use push block like at all in the set looking back, and I was addicted to up backing and got hard called out for it a bunch of times. I also just never really took my turn on offense. It's easy to look back and call out my bad play in the now, but that's only because I've been leveling up so much as of recent. All in all, 4th place, Not bad for an editor if I do say so myself. As month 1 of early access was coming to an end, there was one final tournament on the docket, DIY bonus track up in New York City. Now this tournament was the definition of hard mode. Hikari, Diaphone, K7, the list goes on and on with the heavy hitters at this tournament. This is a tournament where I go in specifically for learning and training my mind and hands to get used to competitive environments of such high stakes. My first round opponent was a Yasuo player, and I handled them really well. Did exactly what I set out to do, and I was constantly in blood rage, which made cross-ups and etc. easy to pull off. A swift 2-0 on my part. My second round was against Mal Silver, a Echo Ari, and it was on stream. The nerves started to kick in. The Ari Echo resets were insanely oppressive. I started making a lot of rookie mistakes, but thankfully, the GOAT Tempest saw my play, tapped my shoulder, and told me to calm down and slow it down. I took a deep breath going into round 2 and locked in. I was calling out everything. Parries were on point. I stopped Ari's jump-ins and cross-ups with my well-timed 2Hs, and of course, my time carried me during the set, baby. It started close, but ended in a dub on my part 2-0. And it also dawned upon me, I'm guaranteed top 24, which means I was destined to play Nitro and Y. I was super excited for this match as I could learn a lot from the tag game vet. Trunks, the Street Fighter 6 player, beat Nitro? This threw my whole bracket into whack, as I was slated to play Trunks' Echo Yasuo team. I'm not gonna lie, it went as well as I was expecting. This is also where my DIY run ends, as I lost to NYC native Dang, who went on to make top 8. Sometimes you just can't beat the hometown buff. It happens. Despite a rough showing in losers, I was overall really satisfied with my play. Again, I went in here expecting to go 0-2 at a bracket of this caliber, and definitely didn't think I'd outdo my C. 17th at a tournament this big with, again, my insanely massive workload was really awesome to experience. And once again, thanks to all of the tournament people that helped make these events possible. And just like that, my first month of 2XKO competing was finished. Will I go to more tournaments in the future? Of course, but maybe as more of a spectator than a player, as I've kind of been doing over the last couple years. On that note, I'll end things off with a nice little bonus for y'all. In January, the first real major tournament took place at none other than Frosty Foustings. It was an exciting time. The PS5 version of 2XKO just dropped, a version that we'll talk about another time, and the talent there was kind of insane to see in person. The twins, Haru and Toshi, came down from their thrones as the #1 duo in Japan and flew down to the Midwest to show off their skill set. We had a good chunk of European talent, such as Wade, Yasha, Leffen, a long and layered list giving it their all. And lastly, many of the US's strongest from all over the country came out and put on a fantastic showcase of what high-level 2XKO really could be. That said, I don't know if it was the swap to console or the game just truly being that hard, but the placements for this bracket were all over the place. My GOAT, Crocs and Socks, nonchalantly knocked EVO France winner Wawa into losers during winter finals of pools. Ronnie Chu and Top 96 winners upset Sonic Fox and Inzem's strong duo team, knocking them into losers, where none other than the strongest duo in the US met the strongest duo in Japan. This made for a legendary showdown and easily one of my favorite matches of the weekend, as we finally got to see straight up pro level duos on a worldwide stage. It was a nail-biting set, but Sonic Fox and Inzem came out on top and proved to the world they are the strongest duo out. And they also kind of proceeded to place 5th while claiming the duo bounty Riot Games put up. Aside from those incredible upsets, top 8 as a whole was, well, to be blunt with you, nothing phenomenal. Unless Bleed was on screen, low-key was hitting that resident sleeper. Bleed was my favorite to take the entire Frosty's bracket. Previously, he was tearing it up with a truly unique team, that of which being Echo Alawi over at TNS's online brackets. So seeing him in person put up and shut down a lot of people that keep on claiming online play doesn't transfer to IRL skill was ultra satisfying. And that grand finals against Super Noon was easily the highlight of not just the night, but of all competitive 2XKO. It was classic storytelling, David vs Goliath, new gen vs old gen, and I can't even lie to you, I was getting flashbacks to early 2018 Dragon Ball Fighters during the Summit of Power. I was so ecstatic when Bleed brought it home. All in all, Frosties was an absolute blast, and that ending to the top 8 might have solidified that maybe 2XKO is here to stay for a long time coming. Well, time to explain why this doc took so long. You see, on the way back from Frosties, I got into a bit of an accident. Now, thankfully I wasn't seriously injured, but I did end up with the concussion, and that made it very difficult to do, honestly, literally anything. During my recovery process, Riot Games went ahead and laid off a massive chunk of the 2XKO staff. And not just any staff. We're talking core champion designers, people who have been there since day one, who were mentioned at the very beginning of this doc. Furthermore, 2XKO is in this really weird nebulous spot right now where the online hate campaigns have really ramped up, and tournament numbers, at least for offline events, seem to be kind of hit or miss unless a bounty is placed on a bracket. All things I would love to jump into, but I'm going to prepare a separate video in part 2 of this doc to further expand upon some of 2XKO's issues, but also how I personally think they could recover from it all. That said, it is a bummer way to end things, but I know how you guys can make it better. If you guys like, share, and subscribe, you could help make more videos like this drop in the future. And if you really want to support me after, you know, everything that happened and all the work I put in to get this doc out, and, you know, maybe help me recover some things that happened personally, you could simply follow me over on my socials, links below. And if you feel so inclined, a coffee link is in the description. It'd go a long way in helping me out. That said, thank you all so much for watching. Sorry for the anticlimactic downer ending, but be safe, take care, and I'll see you all on the next one.